Thank you. You don't have to read the papers for long or watch the news, do you, to find that global warming and climate change is a serious issue, hanging over our future like a dark, threatening cloud. The scientist of the UN climate panel has calculated that if the average temperature of the Earth rises more than 2 degrees, we run a serious risk of irrevocable climate change. And it's caused, global warming is caused by our emissions of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide and others. So action needs to be taken, and they have calculated a path of reduction needed to save the planet as we know it. And looking down that path, about 50 years ahead, there is headroom for about 1 ton of carbon dioxide emission per person on a global level. And what is the meaning of that is down from an average of 7 tons currently, and in most industrial countries higher than that. I think here in Germany you are 10 or 11. So what's the meaning of a 1 ton goal? How challenging is that? Broken down to a daily budget, it's about 3 kilos of carbon dioxide, which is enough to eat a hamburger meal. Or you can drive your average car for about 20 kilometers, but then you cannot have your hamburger. And maybe you want to heat your house. And also, by having a house, as scientists calculated, the production causes a lot of emission of carbon dioxide, and that is spread out over the lifetime of the product, so you get your yearly share or daily share. So by having a car, having a house, eating a hamburger, driving the car a bit, you have a 3 or 4 times lifestyle at least. So as you understand, a 1 ton lifestyle is quite challenging. And the solution needs to be better, more climate-smart technology and different behavior, more sustainable lifestyle. And an interesting question would be, how far could an average family come already today if they were equipped with the best available technology and coaching for behavioral changes, more sustainable lifestyle? The EU has set a target for reducing 20% over 8 years. But to find answer to this question, the Swedish average on 7 ton, how close could an ordinary family get to the 1 ton goal? A live experiment was set up in Sweden, in Stockholm, between January and June this year, with a family to live the experiment. And we, the Lindells, were that family. This is my wife, Alicia, and our beloved teenagers, Hannah and Jonathan. And we knew we were taking on quite a big challenge, demanding challenge, going into this project, but we wanted to do it, one, for the learning, and for the sake, especially for the children, to early on get this knowledge and skills early in life, how to live climate smart. Secondly, it was a project about not moving out of society, but moving into society and into the future. Solutions that we could believe actually will be used tomorrow, and people could like to do it. And thirdly, if we were successful, we hopefully could contribute by being a good example for others. And fourthly, some friends of mine claim that the other 3 were just poor excuses to get the chance to play with great new technology. And here comes the film, how it was presented on the internet, and gives you a good idea of the project and the helpful tools and the setup we got, trying to get as close as possible to the 1 ton goal.
Today, many people have a lifestyle that equals too high an output of carbon dioxide. The average output per person per year is over 7 tons. We need to drastically change our lifestyle in terms of how we live, eat, travel, and produce electrical power in order to achieve a sustainable future for mankind. In 2011, one family will make a big change in their lives to prove that there is a way to lead a modern life with a sustainable lifestyle. They're going to live in a climate-smart house that takes its electrical power from clean energy sources like the sun, which even fuel their car as well. And they're going to live a 1-ton life.
And here you see us moving into the house, leaving our old house a few kilometers away and moving into the future. And we thought of this as a great learning process of interest to Stockholm, maybe to Sweden, but it was not like that. We soon found out it was of global interest. So at launch day, we, after a few hours, were on the most watched list on BBC, and for a few hours even ahead of President Obama, if you look closely. And all the time during the project, our footprint, our emission of greenhouse gases expressed as carbon dioxide was measured and monitored by Professor Christian Nazar and his team at Chalmers Technical University in Sweden. And Mr. Nazar is a leading climate researcher. And we understood later that this was part of what triggered interest from media, because a full-scale live experiment with a family like this, all aspects of the footprint measured 24 hours, 7 days a week, had not been carried out before. So it was unique. And they measured us in these categories: travel, food, and house. And I'm going to walk you through how we managed to reduce our footprint way further than most experts expected to be doable. And here's the special house as it looked in real life: a wooden, climate-smart, passive house, and the electric car in the background. And an interesting aspect of this house is that it actually does not have higher living costs than an ordinary new-built house, because you have a higher production cost, but a lower running cost. So average monthly cost is about the same. So you might think, what's the safe bet? Interest rate going up, or do I bet on energy prices going up? If I bet on the last one, it seems like a good idea to build a house like this. So we immediately got a good jump start, just leaving a house from the 70s, 2 larger petrol cars, and moving into this with a passive house with almost no additional heating, one small all-electric car, and starting to use public transportation much more. And then it was up to us to learn and adapt and go further, trying to get as close as possible to the 1-ton goal. So this is what the house looked like in January in Sweden. It's quite cold up north. So no wonder that a lot of people had a perception we had moved into, knowing it is a passive house with no heating almost. It's thick walls, reduced window surfaces, like a cold, dark cave. So they asked, how are you doing in there? Freezing? Do you have enough light to read properly? But it was not like that. It's a pleasant house, very social, nice to be in. It was always comfortable. So it proves that good design and climate smartness really goes hand in hand. But of course, living in a house, mostly heated by the persons in the house, gives you a whole new idea and meaning to the idea of a housewarming party. So thank you all friends who visited us during the cold month. And we had some great tools to help us run the house as good as possible. This is the energy watch. So we had instant feedback, how we consumed energy. Did we do better today than yesterday? Where is the best potential for tomorrow? So we continued. And we also encouraged our own behavior, and like having a shower competition, which I, by the way, won, clocking in on 2 minutes, but the girls said it was unfair to compete against me with so little hair to wash. So that was the house. So we found, like, it seems like a good idea to invest in this kind of technology. And also the instant feedback is important to encourage you and challenge you to do better. And then we had transportation. My wife loved the electric car. She said she expected it to be like a golf cart, slow and, but it was actually like a go-kart. It was fast, speedy, of course silent to drive. And we powered it on the normal power grid in the house. So it took like all night, but then each morning we had about 120 fresh kilometers to go, which is more than enough for larger Stockholm. And we had to reschedule to try to use the car as optimal as possible. So we commute every day like 20 to 50 kilometers. So each morning now the family set off together in the small electric car, and this experience really brought us closer together as a family in a double sense. It's cozy and quite small in there, 2 doors. So the car was a very helpful tool, and it really worked well. Sometimes people claim you can have a battery anxiety having the electric car, because you don't know if you're going to make it all the way home. You can't quick fill it if you're out of power. And once we limped home 5 kilometers an hour up to the house, a long line of impatient drivers behind us, and feeling embarrassed. And it would have been great then to have a sign. Sorry guys, it's for the planet. We are going all electric and we are low in power. And I did wonder how much emission did we cause now, having this long line behind us. But otherwise, great tool. When they become affordable, we will definitely want one. And also, we managed to use public transportation much more, which is also helpful for your footprint. So we came further down. And now, after learning, trying hard, we thought we had earned a vacation real good. It kind of ripped my heart out to cancel the ski trip to the Alps, which I love, but the flight, that's a CO2 catastrophe. So we took the climate-smart train up north in Sweden instead, and that can be just as fine. So we were very happy until we got the measurements. All the wrong way, even though we tried our best to stay low. But eating out all the time, staying in big hotels, sauna, ski lifts, taxis. So first we were discouraged, then we were encouraged to going home and try even harder to come as low as possible. So it was time for the next focus area, food, which was kind of our favorite, because you don't need any smart technology, it's only up to your behavior. And as often in life, we did find that without knowledge, it's hard to act, and with knowledge, it's more or less impossible not to act. And I guess most of you are going to have lunch later today, and I hope you pick something you enjoy. And then I do wonder how many of you have any idea of the climate impact of the choice you are going to make. And I bet most of you don't have a clue. And neither had we. So it was a steep learning process, learning how to eat climate smart and stay healthy at the same time. And luckily enough, it seemed like almost most of the time, what was good for the planet, it was also good for your personal health. So some quick wins we had in the food. One, choose what you buy. In a typical Swedish family, up to a third what you bring home from the store end up in the garbage bin. And don't do that. And cook with your leftovers, which is also good for your creativity, by the way. And secondly, stay low on meat, especially beef, since when cows digest food, they let out methane gas, which is a very strong greenhouse gas, 23 times stronger than carbon dioxide. And then we went into the more complicated areas, like transportation and production of food. Tomato grown under the sun in Spain, taking the truck up to Sweden, maybe much more climate smart than a locally grown one in a heated greenhouse. And about this, you don't get much information out there. So it was kind of complicated. Or try to go out in Stockholm and have a climate-smart lunch. Good luck, I would say. You can have an eco lunch, a diet lunch, a whatever lunch, but you can't find a climate-smart lunch. So we had to make up some good rules of our own. And one was eat seasonally. Then you're on the safe side if you try to be climate-smart. If it's season for the vegetables, for instance, in Sweden, then they grown under the sun, then you're on the safe side. So now we come way further than most experts expected to be doable. We were down 60% in our footprint, and in a sustainable way, still staying with the comfort of modern life and a lifestyle we could commit to. And we had about 1 month left in the house before moving out. So we said, now let's take all we have learned and give it a real hard try the last month, even if we find it uncomfortable, even if we have to give up things, but still lead a normal life, commuting, going to school and work, etc. So we turned our house into a climate monastery. And now we question everything. We closed out rooms, forbidden areas behind the line to simulate a smaller living surface. We questioned taking the car. I told my wife, you can look smart, also biking. Am I not right? And we experimented with the food. We became pure vegetarians. Then we became vegans. Then we became extreme vegans. And we appreciated because we were fueled by the competing spirit, but it was not tasty. We didn't know how to cook it. You can see for yourself. So, but not all of us appreciated. Our 14-year-old son, growing teenager, he was not so happy with the food experiments. But we kept going, and finally we did extreme things, trying to use the monastery as much as possible. One example, when in my work as management consultant, I visited a client, and they knew I were in the project. So they had bought me this nice salad to give me a treat. So they put it on the table and said, here you go, with a big smile. And I say, oh, thank you guys, but I cannot afford it. Afford it, but we are buying. Yes, but money is not everything. I can't afford the footprint, the CO2. And I brought up my own vegan dish from my briefcase, had it, throwing a jealous eye on the nice salad, but I knew I was saving grams. So we were, you could call us that we were CO2 extremists at this. But we got the satisfaction of the measurement. We were down 80% now, almost close to the impossible 1-ton goal. But we had a problem with the lifestyle this last month. Doing things with friends, we tried them to have another idea that was less CO2 burdened, etc., etc. So we kind of understood that living a life like this would have social consequences. So more interesting for us was the learning at 60%. It was surprisingly easy. It did not put much pressure on us after getting used to it. So we didn't have to give up much. And it really felt good as well. So finally, we saw that our savings were part technology and equal part up to knowledge and mindset. And moving out of the house, we were inspired, full of new knowledge, and we had learned that if you think climate smart, it's much easier to live climate smart. And of course, there are a lot of challenges out there. Actions need to be taken, and in different parts of the world it's different, and changes in technical infrastructure takes time. But if we could save 60% in only 6 months, we should be able to do it, shouldn't we? And we did learn that all the small things that one by one doesn't seem worthwhile all add up to a big sum together, making a big difference. And we should do it, if not for our own sake, we should do it for our children or for our unborn grandchildren that are going to live on the planet we leave behind us. So if we all contribute and start today, don't you think we still have a bright future looking forward to? Thank you.